Welcome to the program. Once again, I am your host, Dennis. If you are just joining us here at Core Confidence Life, here on Core Confidence TV, subscribe to us right there on your screen so you can be updated on the latest interviews and videos and other phenomena we got going on this channel. This is a podcast / channel for men's personal development. And on today's program, we are interviewing a film director on the issue of mental health in the minority communities. And he is going to talk about his upcoming film that he directed called Suicide Saint. And we get into a pretty good, deep discussion on mental health and the stigma around mental health and what to do about all that. All right, follow us on Twitter, Core Confidence Life, and you can go to our Facebook, Core Confidence Life, of course, and our website, coreconfidencelife.com, to listen to more of our podcasts that are in audio form and so forth. And after these messages, we'll be right back. Core Confidence Life. This episode has been brought to you by Hello Wellness. If you're not feeling like you think you should, if you're on multiple medications and you just don't have the stamina you used to, well, then say hello to wellness. With a few changes in your diet and routine, you will feel like a brand new man. Run, play with your kids, and keep a smile on your partner's face. It's as simple as saying hello. Find out more information by going to www.hellowellness.live. That's www.hellowellness.live. Okay, welcome to the program. Today I am Dennis coming at you straight out here in New York City, and we're doing yet another podcast here on Core Confidence TV, and it's about a very, very important subject about the mental health in minority communities. And we have a guest on the program who is a film director, and he's working on a movie about this very topic, and it also talks about suicide as well. And so we're going to go deep and hopefully hear some helpful stuff with my guest here, Hezeus R. How you doing, Hezeus?
I'm good. How you doing, Dennis? It's a pleasure to be on Core Confidence.
Oh, well, thank you for coming and talking with us today. So just starting out, you are a film director. So talk to us a little bit about you in general. Who is Hezeus R? What you be about?
I'm all about social impact content. As a filmmaker, I've always utilized the power of entertainment and leveraged it to make a positive impact on our communities. From when I first started with a show called Eye on It in 2002 to founding the Guns for Cameras program in 2005, taking guns off the streets and giving kids video cameras, up until starting the SICK Film School, which is SIC, Social Impact Content, founding the SICK Film School last year. I've always used my talent and my career to give back. So when I'm creating films, commercials, music videos, whatever it is, I always like to bake in this idea of something that addresses an issue or promotes some social good, because I feel like people separate those two things. They do their business for profit, and sometimes it exploits culture. And then if they do have, any type of heart or decency, and they do some charity, they usually do it on the side and separately. And I think it's important to incorporate it into your actual work, not only for individuals and artists, but for big businesses, right? They operate on such a large scale and impact so many lives, and then they do a little charity on the side, but they don't really address their company culture and the product that they're putting in the market that has a bigger impact on society.
Definitely. So you're definitely about using the power that you have and the talents that you have to address these overarching issues and issues that aren't really being addressed by the society at large.
Absolutely.
Excellent, excellent stuff. So the topic we're talking about today is mental health in minority communities. So talk to me a little bit about that. What is going on with mental health in the minority communities, and what brought you to this particular cause?
Well, it started with creating the name for the film because I didn't realize I was going to get so involved in mental health specifically, and I wasn't aware of how big an issue it was for all communities. From Black, white, Latino, Asian, and it doesn't matter if you come from privilege or from adversity. Mental health affects everyone. Everyone feels depression, anxiety, isolation, self-doubt. Like these are things that we all wrestle with. So for Suicide Saint, the two lead characters are Black and Latino. But it started with the name, this juxtaposition of suicide and saint, and it developed into these characters. And then I really am pushing this theme of questioning the war within that resides within all of us.
Questioning the war within. Say a little bit more about the war within.
So the war within for the film, the one character has conflicts against himself in a way that he's dealing with a self-identity crisis, and the other character has conflicts between two voices. He's facing external environmental factors, but then he also has issues within himself through schizophrenia, hypervigilance, and some of the sins that he's inherited from his father. Genetically, schizophrenia is attributed 70% genetically and 30% to the environment. But then there's bigger themes and metaphors that carry over from what the decision his father made to the decisions he makes, and then what ultimately happens with his son. But I don't want to go too much into the creative of the film because I want to talk more about mental health.
Well, sure. That's
than about the story specifically.
Well, absolutely. And actually, I think I was asking you to talk more about just mental health in general when you talk about the war within and mental health and the things that are going on concerning that and minority communities.
Sure. I mean, look, we all have our challenges. I think the biggest problem is that it's something that we avoid talking about. There's a stigma. There's whether it's embarrassment, shame. There's a vulnerability. People feel weak to admit stuff. You know, this younger generation thinks kindness is corny. Like there's so many of these ideals that we create that do us a disservice. You know, if you focus on developing your health, your financial health, your physical health, all these other aspects of your life where you want to improve your life or your quality of life and, you know, find some type of happiness, right? Like people are so focused on making money, thinking the house, the car, whatever material things is going to bring them joy, but nobody wants to focus on their mental health. And your mental health impacts every decision you make in your life. It impacts your perspective, your emotional engagement, your attitude, how you're dealing with friends, family members. It could change your status in terms of opportunities for work or opportunities in personal relationships. So all these things are directly derived from a person's their health, right? In the film, we're not just talking about mental illness and some of the challenges that people have, and whether it's schizophrenia or PTSD or, you know, things that are caused from traumatic experiences. I'm addressing mental health overall and mental wellness as something that society in general needs to focus on. In the US, 46% of adults deal with mental illness at some point in their life. So it's
Yeah, it's definitely a pressing need, and you mentioned something earlier about it's corny to be kind, and I talk often on this program about how somehow we have assigned genders to health concerns. So if you want to eat better, it's not seen as, let's say, manly. If you want to eat better, you're supposed to be eating a steak. Dang, dang it! It's not cool to pay attention to mental health. But yet we glorify all these materialistic things, sort of like living on the surface there. And so that
Yeah, I
definitely,
mean, for males, that there's a that manliness for the Latino community, machismo, like there's a higher pressure of to toughen up
mhm.
and to not be sensitive at all. Even though I think today in society we're overly sensitive in terms of how we're polarized and divided on every issue you can imagine, but the pressure for a young boy growing up, I think, is why males are killing themselves at a much higher rate than women or young girls. It's 79% males in terms of suicides.
Yeah, that's true. So, how would you think we can go about one, just lifting the stigma of dealing with mental health, especially among men? As you say, the percentage is pretty high, but just in general, how do you think we could go about lifting this stigma of this very important? Because we're mind, body, and spirit. We need care on all three levels, and you see, taking care of your body is now commercialized. Now it's exercise, and it's now what, hip to go meatless or whatever it is. But um, we still haven't quite yet lifted the full stigma around mental health. How do you think we would do that?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to happen culturally, and for it to happen culturally, it has to happen within the arts. And film is a medium where, out of all mediums, people are most influenced by film, right? The way that we see ourselves and see each other, we're influenced by the reality that we're being given through film. Even for young kids to watching cartoons, like they learn their social cues and their social behavior from the media that they consume. As a parent, you can teach your child, and then if they watch whatever cartoon, then they talk back to you, or they do something, you're like, where did they get that from? They get it from the images and the visuals that are larger than life. So it's even a greater influence than what our own reality is. Um, and I think that happens across cultures. Before social media was so big, the rest of the world viewed America and American culture and American people through what they saw in the cinema, right? Whatever they saw in movies, that's what they imagined life was like over here.
Yeah.
So I think we're in a disservicing ourselves even further when you think about social media and everybody's portraying a certain image it's a false reality, because we're so obsessed with this idea of this vanity culture that people are showing what the smallest part of their day to make it look like their life is better than it is, and everyone else is at home comparing themselves to that, thinking that they should be further ahead or not where they should be, or that everyone else has it better than them, not realizing that we're all struggling, we're all suffering, we're all in pain. So to change that stigma, it has to happen through the narratives in films and music and other forms of art that influence us, right? Because music, definitively, gangster is cool because of music. Being a killer is cool because of music, right? And even in film, and it's not just about hip hop or the black community. Gun violence has been romanticized in cinema for American cinema for the last 200 years. It's in Italian mafia, it's in Bugs Bunny cartoons, it's in Rambo movies. Like we've created this fascination with violence the same way we create this stigma around mental health. Mental health is demonized, it's criminalized. People with severe illness are villains in films. So there's a huge irresponsibility in terms of how things are presented. The movie Joker, violence is glorified. This person didn't have any significance in life until he killed somebody, and then at the end, people had him up on their shoulders. Like it gave him his self-worth. Understanding that that's for a comic book, and then trying to justify why this character so villainous, but it doesn't do anything for us as a society. And I think there isn't any balance because now everything is made for the intention of profit, and there's not enough content being created for social good.
You took the words out of my mouth. You must have been spying on me, Mr. Sir. I 100% agree with you, and it's the gun culture, the glorification of violence. And it's funny because you've got kids doing all of these things, like all of these violent games are transferred into kids, like cops and robbers, or one of the things that is crazy to me is cowboys and Indians. There's a whole lot of layers to that one. And so we start out with the gun culture and the culture of violence from the childhood, and then that gets bred into us as individuals and as a culture. And then we're shocked when mass shootings happen. We're shocked when people are cold and callous towards one another. We're just shocked. How could this be? Well, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, we create it, and then the things that are the best path to solution we run away for, and we create a vibe around that's uncool, right? That seeing a therapist or taking some type of meds makes you some kind of weirdo or something, right? Like we place these labels on people, and we pass this judgment when we're all dealing with the same problems.
We've been shaming the idea of mental illness from the beginning. You're cuckoo. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. If you dare act, I guess, outside of whatever norm or whatever, you seem different. Oh, you're a little weird. You're cuckoo. Go on. What you didn't take your meds today? Like, we kind of stigmatized them. Even the word meds.
Yeah. Everything about it. I mean, look, to your point, when Kanye was doing his one of those rallies that he did for when he was running for the president, there was a moment where he broke down and he was crying about the idea of not having his daughter, and everybody was so irrational, like, oh, this guy's crazy, he needs medication, he needs this, like, but I respect what he said. He's like, we're in a world today where they think I'm crazy for crying about my daughter, but like, I don't know anybody publicly who has more courage than Kanye West to be honest about his feelings, right? I don't know anybody who's comfortable crying in front of their friends or in public, let alone in front of the whole world on a world stage, right? Like this is somebody who's vulnerable, and for us to judge him and say he's crazy, it's like we're all crazy, right? Like our values have shifted so much, and we've been sucked into this illusion of what we think is right and wrong, and there's like no decency anymore, and everybody wants to front, and it's so much to it's hard to put it into words for me because I'm so passionate about it, and it's so many different obstacles, and it's multi-layered and multifaceted, and people are so judgmental, they're so misinformed, they're so unaware, yet they're still suffering the same pain themselves, and like you said, they don't know why. So it's a lot of irony to it, really.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate your passion, because it is something that, and it's ubiquitous, and the sad part is it's so ubiquitous that a lot of people just don't really notice how huge it is because it's ubiquitous. We don't know, as a society, many of us, or probably all of us alive, don't know anything different as far as public stigma. It's always been make fun of the crazy person, you're cuckoo. It's always been men shouldn't cry. It's always been all of these different things.
Sure.
So, well, it's fascinating. So, you are a film director. Do you do anything else in film? Do you write? Do you actually act? What is your extent in that?
Right. I mean, I came up with a story for Suicide Saint. I did bring on a screenwriter or two screenwriters to write the film with me. But I had, the story, the characters, the arcs, like all the details. But it's just really putting it into the format and the language. I wrote my last film by myself, but I feel like there's art, there's beauty in the collaboration when you're bouncing ideas off of someone else and you're receiving their input and feedback and whatever creative they have to add to it. So I think it's always great to collaborate, and it's especially when you're collaborating in different spaces between not just the writing but the art department and production design and the different elements that we're bringing to life, because in this film it's it's this urban drama but with sci-fi visual aesthetics, and we're tapping into these other elements of the super spiritual. There's a lot going on in the movie. It's a visually immersive experience, so it's not just about this dynamic story and character, but it's more about the emotional experience that you get when you're watching the film.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's really cool. That's excellent. So where can we find out more about you and how the film is coming along as far as releasing and all these logistics around it, and just more about you as a person and what your work is and things like that?
Oh, follow me on Instagram. I mean, I have a website and Facebook and YouTube. It's all Hezeus R. But I would say I'd pay more attention. I always invite people to DM me on Instagram for business only. Don't slide in my DM. But if you want to hit me up about
hey, what's up, Hezeus? I saw you on Core Confidence. Hey, you're looking kind of something. Yeah, don't do that, right?
Yeah, don't do that. But if you're trying to get into the industry, you're trying to work on a production, on a crew, on a film or act. I think access is one of the biggest issues for our community. I know for directors of commercially released films in the last couple of years, 94% were Caucasian, 4% African American, and 1% Latino. So, if you're trying to break in, hit me up. I'm always trying to put people on. I will respond. Even if I don't have a gig for you, I'll recommend you to somebody else or stay in touch and keep you in mind for stuff. But or if you just want to follow the page and wait for the film to come out and support the film and watch and support and share some of our content, just hit me up. I announce most of the important stuff on Instagram, and then it gets filtered out to the other social media channels.
And yes, support this, because this is a very important topic, a topic that we need to continuously take the battering ram and try to break down the stigma. And breaking down the stigma will be good for everybody. It wouldn't just be good, you're crazy, you need medication. No, this is good for everybody. And even if they're not, even if it's not themselves, somebody who may be going through something. Someone who is struggling. Even if you may not see yourself as struggling, somebody who feels that they are. So we need awareness all across the board, because it affects us regardless on whether it is us or whether they are around us.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Hezeus. You're doing great work. Keep up the great work, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Dennis. It's been a pleasure being on Core Confidence, and I wish you the best, man.
Really Thanks, sir. Time. All right. All right. If you'd like to be a guest on the Core Confidence Life podcast, just fill out our application by going to coreconfidencelife.com/guest. That's coreconfidencelife.com/guest. We appreciate you and all your feedback. So to give us comments about the podcast or anything else, just send a message to Dennis at coreconfidencelife.com. That's Dennis at coreconfidencelife.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and all the social media outlets, of course, at Core Confidence Life. I'm your host, Dennis, from New York City, giving you higher consciousness, lower stress, hard-hitting manhood issues with just a side of cornball humor.